After so many weeks of teasers, reveals, excellent showcases of alternate arts, and even an update to the ban list, if you haven't seen that video, make sure to go check it out on the channel. We finally have every single card available in OP13, and it looks like many of the other anniversary sets to be filled with so many great cards within this meta. Carrying on His Will releases on Friday out in Japan, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the format develops, especially with these incredible new leaders and a bunch of cards that are here to boost these leaders in the upcoming format. This is going to be a long video because we're going to talk about them all, some of them longer than others, obviously, but before we get anywhere else, let's hear from a word from our sponsor. Den Garden is officially celebrating their 1-year anniversary. This mat's on sale. This mat's on sale. This mat's on sale. Literally everything on their website is slashed for this anniversary sale. You can pick up some old favorites or brand new designs on their website at a discounted price and stack my code Atrocious on top of that for 5% off. This anniversary sale is not going to last forever, so make sure to click the link in the description below and get your new favorite playmat today from one of my favorite people out here in the community. Thank you again to Den Garden for sponsoring this video, and congratulations again to 1 year of great things. Now, let's get back to the video. So because I'm unfortunately not fluent in Japanese yet, I am going to have the auto translate for these cards so then you can also kind of read it on screen with me if you want. We've done this before, and for the most part, it is pretty much correct. There are some things that are a little bit like you have to read it first in order to really understand what it's trying to say. But we'll start off with one of the red leaders. There's 4 of them total, I think, in this set. This Luffy 4-life red-green supernova straw hat, Dawn ×1 on opponent's attack. If you have 5 or fewer active Dawn on your field, you may rest any number of your Dawn, and for each Dawn that you rest with this effect, this leader or one of your Straw Hat crew characters gains 2,000 power during the battle. This is a really interesting leader, right? Especially later in this set list, we're going to talk about a lot of different effects that restand Dawn, especially at the end of turn. This leader has a really interesting identity of being tanky, right? Especially for kind of red decks, you know, being a little more aggro leaning. This guy's really curious because you have a lot of the really good red and green Straw Hat stuff, which has been kind of the primary point, I feel like, of the card game. And on top of that, you basically have free 2Ks in hand. You have so much counter potential in this deck, especially when you get towards the late game. And I think this leader is going to be really cool in the meta. Ace is one of the community's favorite leaders heading into this set. It's a red-blue 3-life 6,000 power leader, mono trait of Whitebeard Pirates. When your opponent attacks once per turn, you can discard a card from your hand, and up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters loses 2,000 power in the battle. It's really important that it is loses and minus 2,000 power in the battle in comparison to gains 2,000 power in the battle, right? There are different effects. I know a lot of people will generally say they're almost the same thing, and they pretty much are, but there are some nuances where that is a difference. Effectively, this can make pretty much anything in your hand a 2K counter of sorts, which if you've seen from Blue Yellow Nami, right, her leader effect being trash a card, gain 2,000 power for the rest of turn, that could be really advantageous, especially when you're a 6,000 power leader. You also, when you have a Dawn on you and once per turn, if you take damage or a character with an original power of 6,000 or more is KO'd, you draw 1 card. This deck does a ton of drawing, right? Especially when you factor in the PRBO2 Marco that's in this set, the starter deck 22 Whitebeard Pirates package. This deck will find its pieces. It will have no troubles finding Flame Emperor like the old red ace did. A lot of people are thinking that this ace is going to be one of the best leaders in the set and the upcoming format, and I am pretty high on it, and we'll get to a lot of the support characters here soon. Goldie Roger, this is a 5-life 7,000 liter red purple Pirate King Roger Pirates trait. This guy's a little confusing. If you have Dawn on your field, during your Dawn phase, one of your Dawn that you gain is given to your leader. And I know a lot of people are a little bit confused by that. So think about when you're playing the game and you got this guy on field and you're starting it out, maybe you go second and you go into your 2 Dawn turn. When you go into your 2 Dawn turn, before you put the 2 Dawn on, that leader effect doesn't go off, right? Because there's no Dawn on your field before the Dawn phase. So those 2 Dawn just go in and they're 2 active Dawn starting your 2 Dawn turn. Now, if you're going into your second turn, right, the next turn on 4 Dawn, before you add 2 Dawn to go up to 4, you look at the field, you see, oh, there's 2 Dawn on my field currently. So when you add the 2 Dawn, you're automatically going to attach one to leader. I think it's a little bit confusing to try to hear or like read. It's really easier to understand within practice, so I highly encourage you to watch some videos on it after you finish this video, but you'll pick it up quick. Roger also has a second effect of if you have 9 or fewer Dawn on your field, this leader gets minus 2,000 power. So for a majority of the game, he's going to be a 5,000 power leader, which is why he's 5 life. I really like this leader. I think that this is really interesting in terms of game design. It's very unique within the game, especially with that first effect that I had to spend time explaining. But Roger is just a very solid leader. It's going to be one that I think is a mainstay within the meta for now, and one that you're going to have to prepare for in the OP13 format. I don't know why OP13 format was so difficult to say at first. But the whole idea of the deck is to ramp to 10 and then use these crazy effects and be a 7k leader. Now, Sabo is the one that I'm most interested in. It is also a 5 life dual colored leader, red, black, 5,000 power. But if you have 4 or more life cards, this leader gets minus 1,000 power. So kind of with that Eustace Captain Kid effect of where the beginning of the game, you're at minus 1,000, you're a 4k leader. But on a Dawn ×1, if you have a character with cost of 8 or more, your leader and all your characters gain 1,000 power. This is really nice, right? Especially when you talk about the OP12 expansion that we got, where there were some Revolutionary Army Dressrosa kind of cards that give themselves an addition in cost, like Hack. On your 5 Dawn turn, right, your 3rd turn of the game, even if you're still at 4 life, you can play down Hack, attach one to your leader, and you're back up to 5,000 power for the turn. Because of that Dawn ×1 leader effect, it's on your turn, it's on your opponent's turn, and now with that 1 Dawn actually attached, you can swing 6. This guy didn't have a lot of hype at first when we first got this reveal, but I think slowly in the last week or so, he's gotten a lot of popularity online, and I know some people like Akailakai have made videos on him, and I know some of my friends on Twitter have also been talking about him. I'm really excited for him. I think he's just going to be a really good leader, right? Not necessarily overly complex, not over aggro, not over controlling, but just has a really nice game plan. There's a lot of good cards that you can build around in this archetype to make this deck strong. But done with the leaders now, let's go into the characters. Revolutionary Army is getting a new character, a 4-cost 5,000 power Inazuma 2K. It's got an on-play effect, grant up to 1 rested Dawn to your leader. I think this Inazuma is actually like a really small but interesting buff in something like Bello Betty. It is leader lock in its given Dawn, which is definitely a downside, but this is a playable 2K that you can put down onto the field through different effects like the Ivankov 4-cost, the Ivankov 5-cost, and it can help you also on curve swing a little bit higher like 6, especially since more 6K leaders are being introduced. I don't know if that's going to be enough to really boost Bello Betty back into the format since it really fell off in 12, but I don't think this is a bad start. We've got Whoop Slap. I don't know who this is. I'm not caught up in One Piece, but it's a 1-cost 1K counter. When played, grant up to 2 rested Dawn cards to one of your Monkey D. Luffy cards. Although I don't think that this card really is that good. Fuchsia Village not really being an archetype that is present. I assume it's the same one that like Makino is, that 1 cost from like OP02. It can actually be good though, right, to be able for 1 Dawn grant 2 Dawn instead. It's not often that we see a 1-cost give 2 Dawn, right? I mean, the 1-cost Nami from the starter deck granting 1 Dawn. I mean, even the 2-cost Brook from that starter deck, only granted to Dawn. So it's really nice to see this have the flexibility to put it on either a Monkey D. Luffy leader or a character card. The Ace Sabo and Luffy from the Kingdom of Goa is a 2K SR 1-drop. On that activate main of this SR, you can give one active Dawn to one of your leader characters and put that character in the trash. Up to one of your opponent's characters gets minus 3,000 power during the turn. I think a lot of people were really excited when this got announced, but in actuality, it's kind of been weird to fit in some of these deck lists. The minus 3,000 power just doesn't really mean as much as it used to, right? I mean, in Red Purple Law, if that ever got unbanned, this card would be awesome, right? You'd be able for one Dawn to be able to give another minus 3,000 power. It's basically like a better Gordon or Raise Max, especially because it has that 2K counter on it. But since Red Purple Law is still banned, I don't really know what you would do. This Ivankov we've known about for a little bit. It's a 2-cost 1K counter 3,000 power Rev Army type that has the ongoing text. If your character with the Rev Army trait would be KO'd by an opponent's effect, you can send this character to the trash instead, right? Especially in like Bello Betty, sometimes struggles against stuff like Rob Lucci or Marshall D. Teach. Actually, no, kind of blows up Marshall D. Teach, but can lose to it, especially if it's the more removal Marshall D. Teach. But anyways, this character on the field is going to help protect your people, right? Especially from those KO effects. There's plenty of them running around in a variety of colors in the format, so this Ivankov could be really nice for a Betty or really any Rev Army deck to give that blanket protection on the KOs that we've started to see come in more colors like green as of late. Curly Dedan is a 1-cost 1,000 power character. If there's a character with a bandit trait other than this card, this character gains double attack. Now, the Mountain Bandit cards, I mean, there's Dogura and Magura, and I think there's maybe like one or two others within this set. I don't really think this card is that good, but I guess having the flexibility is really nice. Lord of the Near Sea, Sea Kings East Blue, just 6-cost vanilla, 8,000 power. Shirahoshi leader is green yellow, so I don't know what this would do. Another vanilla, but this one being a 2K counter vanilla 5/6 Cobra, and we also have a 1-cost Vivi. First of all, I love this illustration. I think it's beautiful. This Vivi says, when played, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 card with the cost of 2 or more with the characteristic of Alabasta or Straw Hat Crew and add it to your hand. This is going to be really nice for anybody who wants to try to run like a Straw Hat Crew or Alabasta engine, right? It's another card, another searcher to add into the deck. It is only top 4, but now, especially with the 1-drop Nami and that one having a manga rare, so it's going to survive rotation for a long time now, you're going to be able to have a double 1-cost searcher within red Straw Hat Crew decks. Pretty good, I think. I think you want to keep your eye out for that. We got Brown Bear as part of the Brown Bear. Is that what his name is? I don't know what his name is. As part of the Mountain Bandits crew. On play, KO up to one of your opponents with a power of 0 or less. It's a 1-cost 3,000 power brick. Obviously kind of synergizes well with the Curly Dedan, right? Getting the double attack, but I don't know. Maybe this card finds some niche play. Now we've got a 1-cost 2K counter, Portgas D Rogue. This illustration, also beautiful. Have no idea who this is, but I assume it's like Ace's mom or something like that. This 2K vanilla card has a trigger on it. Up to one of your Portgas D Ace cards gets 3,000 power during the turn. Now the typing is Beterida. I don't know what that could be, but if blue red ace somehow just wanted to fit in this card for any reason, this can be really nice to have a trigger and really put yourself up to 9,000 power for the rest of the turn. Even something like red ace could really enjoy this. We've got another 1-cost 0 power Makino that's a 2K, but this one having an activate main of resting the character, giving a Monkey Day Luffy 2000 power, right? A little bit more nerfed than the old Makino, right, from OP02. But being able to have this piece within kind of the Fuchsia Village archetype, as well as just being an option to give a Luffy leader or character that flexibility that I was talking about earlier, can be very nice in the long game. Monkey D. Garp is a 1-cost searcher that I know a lot of people are really interested in. On play if your leader is Sabo, Ace, or Luffy. Look at the top 4 cards of the deck, reveal up to 1 card with a cost of 3 or more, add it to your hand, put the rest of the bottom in any order. I've seen some people playing around with this, especially in the new leaders that we just talked about, because especially with something like the Sabo, for example, or maybe the Ace, you just have a lot of great cards that are 3 or more, right? It's basically like 70, 65, 75% of your deck. This can be a good search option, especially because there's not a restriction of color, there's not a restriction of typing, it's literally only cost. I'm a big fan of this searcher card. Now, Revolutionary Army gets another protection effect, this one being a blanket all means regards protection. This 6-cost 7,000 power dragon with the 1k counter once per turn. If your character with the trait of Revolutionary Army leaves the field due to an opponent's effect, this character can instead receive minus 2,000 power for the turn. This is a really nice card in Rev Army, right? Especially leaving the field due to an opponent's effect. That's like Gravity Blade and Red Rock from blue. That's anything black, really, or even yellow. Purple has some KOing or bottom decking or 9-cost Charlotte Lin if it survives the ban list. I don't know. Like, that's leaving the field. Even red has like maybe some different KO effects and stuff. This dragon's going to be able to help you protect your key pieces on the field, especially in red black Sabo. Now, Wapple right here, a 2k counter 6/7 vanilla. And we move on into the events. The Flame won't allow it. This is another one of the 1-cost events that have 2 different effects. The counter side, you can gain 3,000 power for the battle. Pretty typical to what we've seen. But if you use it on your main phase, you can rest 4 of your Dawn cards and up to one of your opponent's characters loses 3,000 power for the turn, and then you KO an opponent's character with 3,000 or less power, right? This is really nice on 5 Dawn, be able to KO essentially a 6,000 power character. If you have any other effects of any sort within your deck, you can go ahead and even minus more on that and then KO. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with this, and I really like the idea of this card. I don't know if it's overly valuable in terms of the events that you can play, but one that is still one to keep out for. Fistbone Meteorite is this one. Looks like a red navy card. Use it on your main phase for 3 Dawn. Up to one of your opponent's characters loses 5,000 power during the turn, with a trigger of activating this card's main effect. This is definitely a Kobe-esque kind of card, right? Being able to give something minus 5,000 and then maybe swing into it with a body or something like that, or get a specific KO effect can be really nice for a game plan. We've got another 1-cost event in Gum Gum. We've got another 1-cost event in Gum Gum Gatling, which used on the main phase gives a rested Dawn to one of your Monkey D. Luffy's. Could be a leader or character. Then after that, you give an opponent's character minus 2,000 power during the turn. Just another one of these cards that just gives it to any sort of Monkey D. Luffy leader or a character, giving a lot of flexibility on here, especially because you can use the Dawn that you tap for this event. So it's basically almost like a Silver's Rayleigh effect, where you basically give an active Dawn to your Luffy and get like this second effect go off. We've got a Fuchsia Village card. On this activate main, you can rest the stage, a 1-cost stage. Up to one of your characters with an original power of 2,000 or less gets 1,000 power during the turn. This card is fine. This feels like a starter deck card. Maybe if there's like some sort of Fuchsia engine that really comes about or something like that, like it's like a Zoro deck, right? Like traditional Zoro where you're low to the ground, you just have these small bodies and you're bing, 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 real quick. This feels like what it's for. Now, moving into green, we've got Uta. This is a 4-cost 5,000 power 1k counter Uta film character that has 2 effects. One on play, you can activate up to 2 of your Dawn cards, and then after after that, you cannot play characters with an original cost of 5 or more during this turn. Basically, it's like a Cavendish on play effect, but has that like Dracula Mihawk restriction to where you can't play specific kind of characters to get this like infinite loop kind of effect. This Uta also has an on KO effect of playing up to one character with a cost of 5 or less from your hand in rested. I really like this Uta card, specifically in green Uta, right? Especially with an on play effect of being able to restand some Dawn. It's a way on curve for you to be able to get off your leader effects still, but also on top of that, being able to play in a cost of a character that's even higher than you is actually really good. And I know some cards within this set that you would actually play off of this Uta to still like maintain a board presence in a couple different matchups. I mean, I'm a huge fan of this card. But first, let's talk about Gordon. I didn't know this card was in the set before. This is a 1-cost 2K counter film. When played, you can reveal one card with the music or film typing from your hand, and at the end of this turn, you can activate 2 of your Dawn cards. This is really nice, I guess, if you're like Uta and you're trying to like have counter events. I know that there are some counter events, I think at least 1 or 2, that you can utilize within the archetype, right from that old promo pack that we had. So I guess if you're looking for a 2K counter to be able to utilize with good synergy in those counter events, this can be your guy. I just think that there's better 2K counters. Now, Kobe is an interesting film Navy type. 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1K counter. This guy has blocker, but also on play, if your leader has the characteristic of film or the attribute strike, I believe, you can activate up to 1 of your Dawn cards. This has a couple different interesting placements, right? Obviously, in Uta, it being film, you're able to easily find it, you play it down, you get to activate 1 of your Dawn cards to use on leader effect if you play this on curve, but also as well, kind of talking about Navy with Smoker. Although Smoker, I believe, is a slash leader and also not a film type leader, you don't get the restand effect on this Kobe, but you do get a 7,000 power blocker on 5. Because it's a Navy type, right? It's going to get that plus 1,000 power boost on your opponent's turn, which I mean, could be pretty valuable. I don't think you would play this in Red-Green Smoker because I think Red-Green Smoker has enough really good pieces, and I don't think this really beats out too many things more than that, but it could be really interesting, especially if we get some like navy green in the future. I don't know. Sunning Kun is a nice 1-cost 1K counter 2,000 power film or Straw Hat Crew guy. Has an activate main once per turn. You can rest 1 of your Dawn cards. This character gains 2,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. This can be really nice in film type stuff, right? Especially when you talk about low to the ground, right? You can use that activate main to make him a 4,000 power character on your turn. And then at that point, it's really only 1 more Dawn to be able to get him to swing at 5,000 power leaders. It's really nice for Dawn investment, right? Really only costs 2 to be able to get him up to 5,000 power, 1 for the activate main and then 1 to get him to 5. So could be kind of cool if you were an extremely low to the ground deck. Now, Sanji is one of the cards that I was referring to with Uta earlier. This is a 5-cost 7,000 power film Straw Hat Crew character. On play, activate up to 2 of your Dawn cards, so you're restanding 2 with that on play. It doesn't have to be during your turn either, so you get to restand off of that 4-cost Uta that I was talking about earlier. Not that it would probably benefit you that much, but kind of cool. But at the end of your turn, if your leader has the film or Straw Hat Crew trait, activate up to 1 of your Dawn cards, right? Restanding 1. This is not only a really good card in Uta, I think personally, but also that red-green Luffy that we talked about earlier, right? If you play this guy on curve, on your 5 Dawn turn, you play this guy down, you restand 2 Dawn, you give 1 to leader, swing 6, whatever, pass into your opponent's turn. You've got 1 active Dawn from that on play effect, and then 1 more restanding from the end of turn on Sanji. That means with 2 active Dawn, you have two 2Ks basically with this Dawn because of your leader effect. Regardless if you're going to be playing this off of the Uta or not, this is a really good card and one of the better rares I feel like in the set that I've seen. This is a cool one for green. Shanks is a really interesting card. It's a 10-drop, 12,000 power character, film for Emperor and red-haired pirates type. It has an on-play effect of activate all of your Dawn, and after that, you cannot play cards from your hand during the rest of the turn. This is any characters, this is any event cards, this is any stages, this is literally anything. You basically just restand 10 Dawn to be able to spread out onto your field. This card is cheeky. I don't know if it's great, but it definitely has its value, right? Especially when you talk about red-green Luffy, you're able to establish a 12,000 power gigantic body on the field and then be able to utilize the rest of the Dawn on your field to go ahead and start swinging. You can swing big power, you can swing good numbers, and leave up enough Dawn to be able to use your leader effect, right? Because especially with your leader effect, you have to have 5 or less Dawn. If you end your turn with having 6 Dawn as active, your leader effect doesn't work. It's going to be a ruling that a lot of people have to get used to. We get a green Jinbei Vanilla 6/7. Tony Chopper is a 1K 5/6 character with an on-play of activate 2 Dawn cards. Super simple. I've seen this played in red-green Luffy deck lists and videos, and I think it's a really interesting card, especially because it's once again a way to restand 2. And you can start to see how there's a lot of cards actually that just restand Dawn within this Luffy list. You're almost always at the end of turn going to have Dawn as active through these restand effects to be able to use with your leader effect. Trafalgar Law is a 6-cost, 6,000 power film Supernova Heart Pirates type, which being a 6-cost just makes me so sad because I wanted it in green yellow Law, but now I don't know because it's a 6-cost if I would put it in red green Law or green yellow Law. You might play it in green red green anemone. Anyways, if your life is 1 or less, this character gains blocker in the on play. You can return a character to the owner's hand, and if you do, you play 1 character with a cost of 5 or less from your hand as rested. This is a really interesting card within the late game, right? Being able to gain blocker, but also being able to shambles and be able to get some extra effects off, whether that's, you know, a 5 cost or less as rested. That could be like the Sanji to be able to restand on or anything like that. The Tony Chopper, or maybe even something like a Cavendish in a green yellow Law deck, the Stun Bonnie, even the blocker Law to be able to shambles once again, or like a Searcher or something like that. I don't know if this card is so good that you include it in these different deck lists, but I do find it to be an interesting addition to the kind of packages that it already has a little bit of synergy for, right? Being a slash supernova film type. Nico Robin's a green 7-cost 7,000 power with a 1K counter film Straw Hat Crew. Excellent outfit on this Robin in my opinion. I need to watch the movies. Has an on play of up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 8 or less cannot be put into rest until the end of your opponent's next end phase. Usually we'll see stuff like Carrot be into the game, right, for green especially, which says that things will not become active. This one is saying cannot be put into rest. So effectively what that says is that cannot be restood to be able to swing or utilize an activate main resting effect throughout the entire next turn for your opponent. This card I think is really cheeky, and I think it's pretty decent within the film archetype, right? Especially for Uta and maybe a little bit in red green Luffy as well. Especially because it also says cost 8 or less. Think about a green card that's pretty good that we got in the last set in OP12. That's an 8 cost. Think about nullifying a blocker like that. That's pretty crazy. Frankie is a 3-cost 5,000 power brick with an on-KO effect of resting up to 2 of your opponent's cards. I really like this card, especially in stuff like red-green Luffy and maybe Uta. Yeah, it's a brick. There's no counter on it, but if you put it on the field, being able to attack 5,000 power leaders for free, if they try to swing into it, you could do like a variety of different things. First, if they start out their turn doing it, you can rest some Dawn cards. If they try to play out different characters or something to maximize the amount of Dawn before they swing into it, you can rest those characters, those blockers that they just put out. I really like this Frankie. It's a cool card. Brook is another 3 cost, 4,000 power with a 1k counter. With an on-play effect, if your leader has the Film or Straw Hat Crew type, you can activate up to one of your Dawn cards. Just another way to be able to restand Dawn. Pretty simple. Beppo is a 5 cost, 7,000 power brick, but at the end of turn, you can activate up to one of this character or your own Dawn. This is really nice to be able to try to keep this character on field, right? Even though it doesn't have necessarily like blocker or anything like that. Or you can put up your own Dawn, really nice in something like Red Green Luffy. This could also just be nice for just green decks in general, right? Being able consistently at the end of turn to restand one active. Helmeppo is another green navy card. So again, more green navy. This is a 5/6 2k counter. Zoro is a 4 cost 5,000 power Film Supernova Straw Hat Crew typing. It's got 2 effects, one being an on play. If your leader has the characteristic of Film or Straw Hat Crew, activate up to 2 of your Dawn cards. Then at the end of turn, activate this character. So not only are you in green Zoro, in red green Luffy, in Uta, being able to restand because of that on play effect, right? Since your leader fits those categories. Also at the end of turn, you get to restand that character. It's a sticky body on field to remove maybe in some different matchups that don't necessarily have the removal and are forced to maybe swing at different characters or maybe interact with rested. Now moving on to the green events, we've got Gum Gum Elephant Gatling, I believe it's called. It's a 2-drop event of Supernova Straw Hat Crew. On main, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Then at the end of turn, activate up to 2 of your Dawn. Obviously, very good synergy with Luffy, right? Very much makes sense, with the trigger also of resting a 5 cost or less. Just a really nice way, especially in that end game, to take care of those blockers. Or maybe even swing into some peskier characters while being able to tap out, trying to either go for game or get after those characters because you restand the Dawn that you utilize for this event at the end of your turn. I feel like this event card's really cool. It might not see like a ton of play, but I think it's a really cool event. We've also got Gum Gum Snake Gun. So this is Straw Hat Crew Supernova and Fishman Island. It's a 2-cost counter event where you K up to one of your opponent's rested characters with the cost of 4 or less, using that trigger to use that counter event. This could be a really good one, right? Especially if you're leaving up Dawn at the end of turns to be able to, in the early stages of the game, kind of really nullify those 5k pokes, right? A lot of like the 3 costs, 4 costs that are going to come out and exist in the game are going to be utilized for those pokes. So you can just go ahead and KO them. I'm pretty sure if they were to swing 5 and then you go ahead and use this counter event, it would nullify the attack in general. The rare event for this set in green, I know it's strong, so I'm going all out from the start. It's one of the 1 cost of the dual section, right? We've been talking about those a lot lately. Supernova Straw Hat Crew, 1 cost counter event, 3,000 power. Most as always. But if you rest up to 2 of your own Dawn on top of that, so 3 in total, you can actually freeze 2 7 costs or less during your opponent's next refresh phase. This is basically like a carrot, except you get to do 2 of them. Now you don't have a 6,000 power body to play on the field, but this is really cool, especially for those Straw Hat and Supernova types. I think this could work really well in green Zoro, especially because it only costs 3, especially when you do something like play a Dracula Mihawk or maybe restand Dawn with Cavendish. You're going to be able to get this effect off a decent amount, and your searchers in Hiyori and Perona both find green events. I think this one's really neat. It's a really cool addition to the color. Now moving on to the blue stuff, we've got Wano Country and Whitebeard Pirates Ezo. It's a 6 cost, 6k. When played, draw 2 cards. Pretty simple, pretty generic, I would say, but works pretty well in Ace, I think, especially the new one, just drawing cards. There is literally no other condition than just drawing cards. Edward Newgate is a 10 drop, 12k power character and an SR in this set. It is a 10 drop blocker. On top of that though, when you play it down, you draw 2 cards and discard 1 from your hand in order to then give 2 rested Dawn to your leader and 1 character. So it's actually in the translations, not just AI Google Translate. It's giving your leader and up to 1 of your characters each 2 rested Dawn, allowing you to reutilize 4 Dawn for this 10 cost. That's going to be really nice to be able to not only make your leader an 8,000 power swing, but I mean, if you have an Ezo on the field, you can make that an 8,000 power swing as well. This Newgate I think is really interesting, especially in the ace deck, and I think does have value, right? You're able to get a Dawn on your leader. It's a blocker, so if they try to swing really, really big, you can actually just block, let it die and draw 1. But as a 12k blocker as well, like that's a pretty big body as a blocker. We've seen 10 cost Newgates in the past, and I think that this is honestly one of the more viable ones. Now we've got this Otama. When played, if you have 3 or less life, draw 2, trash 1 from your hand. Honestly, very much meant for ace, right? Because if you have 3 life or less, but definitely was going to be utilized in Nami before she unfortunately got banned, because I am recording this section, if you notice I've changed outfits, recording after the ban list. No doubt that's the reason Nami got banned, was because this card, honestly, in itself, that was kind of the tipping point in my opinion. But definitely, I mean, just gonna be a really good card. You can honestly expect to see this played in more than just potentially like an ace deck, just simply because it's a 2k that allows you to net 0 and filter out the hand. Just really good in general. We've got Curio or Kurieru in the Whitebeard Pirates typing. He's got 2 effects, 1 when attacking and 1 on KO. He's a 3 cost 4,000 power character. The on KO is simple, draw 1 card, which with your leader effect is draw 2 cards basically, which can be really nice. But when attacking, you can grant up to 1 rested Dawn to 1 of your leaders or characters with the Whitebeard Pirate trait. When tapping out on curve, you're still able to get that Dawn on your ace leader. Haruta is a 1 cost that I've seen in some lists. It's a 1,000 counter, 2,000 power character with a when attacking effect of if you have 4 or less cards in your hand, draw 1 card. I don't know if I really see this being incredible in lists. It's a really good way to be able to attack some of the smaller bodies that you have to battle against, right? You're not always swinging leader at the different searchers, right? That maybe like Zoro uses with the Hiyori or something of the sort, maybe like Blackbeard's Q. And you can go ahead and use this Haruta right here to be able to fill up the hand a little bit. I don't think it's overly broken, and I don't think it's required in ace decks, but I've seen a little bit of it. So who knows, you might see it splashed in there a bit. We've got a 6 cost 8,000 power Vista as well with double attack in the Whitebeard Pirates typing. Once per turn though, if this character would be KO'd or leaves the field due to an opponent's effect, you can trash 1 card with the Whitebeard Pirates trait from your hand instead. This is a really good sticky body within the ace deck, right? Because you're playing with literally just Whitebeard Pirates cards. So you're almost going to always be able to trash 1 card for this effect, and with a double attack 8,000 power stat line, this is a dangerous body in my opinion. Fossa gets another 2 cost card, this one being 3,000 power and 1k counter, has an ongoing effect of if your character with the Whitebeard Pirates trait would be KO'd by your opponent's effect, you can send this character to the trash instead. This also might be a nice inclusion within the ace decks, just simply because it's another protection effect, right? Any reason that a character would be KO'd, whether, you know, that's a black matchup or even maybe some green matchups, this Fossa is going to be able to get around that situation. Buramenko, Blancmo, I think his name is, just a vanilla 2k 6,000 power character for the Whitebeard Pirates, I should say. Another 2k vanilla in Blenheim. Bakuja Pirates now getting another piece of the puzzle, kind of seemingly random, I feel like. It's a 2-cost 3,000 power 1k counter character, Boa Sandersonia. On play effect, if your leader is Boa Hancock, you can play a Boa Hancock with the cost of 3 or less from your hand. There's a couple Boa Hancocks that I can think of. I think there's a couple blockers, one from the starter deck, and I think another one on top of that. So although it doesn't get to play a 4-cost like the Boa Hancock from the Doflamingo starter deck, you still have some options to be able to play around with this character. It could also synergize well with this Boa Hancock. This Boa Hancock is a 3-cost 5,000 power character, and when it's KO'd, if your leader is Boa Hancock or is a multicolored leader, draw 2 cards. I really like this flexibility of not just being able to play in Boa Hancock, right? Any multicolored leader could utilize this card to be able to get that draw 2 effect, which will bring value to many other kinds of decks if they decide to play it. We've got Boa Marigold here, a 5-cost 4,000 power character with 1k counter stat line, Kuja Pirates. It's a blocker, but also having an on-play effect of if your leader is Boa Hancock, you can play a Boa Hancock with the cost of 6 or less from your hand. This obviously gets very good synergy with, I believe it was an OP07, that 6-cost Boa Hancock that freezes a character. Very obviously trying to work in synergy with that Boa for the Boa Hancock archetype, which is a really cool thing to see in this set. Marshall D. Teach, though, getting a card for the Whitebeard Pirates. Don't know how that lore fits in. Don't spoil it in the comments. It's a 4-cost 5,000 power 1k counter. When attacking, put one of your characters with the Whitebeard Pirates trait into the trash. If you do, draw 1 card, and this character gains banish until the end of this turn. This is a really interesting card. You could use this and be able to utilize different other characters that maybe aren't really going to swing at characters. I'm talking like 1-cost searchers. I'm talking like maybe a 2-cost or something like that kind of setup card that maybe just has an on-play effect. This is really interesting to be able to give this guy banish and be able to fill up the hand. I really like this card. I think this card is interesting. Yamato is going to be a really nice card in Ace, and really just any deck that wants to play this card in general. It's a 5-cost 6,000 power character with 1k counter with an on-play effect. If you have 3 or less life, draw 2 cards, then give Arrested Dawn to your leader. Obviously meant for Ace. I don't think that's within any question, and I think it's a really good card, right? Especially for Ace, it's an unconditional draw 2 cards and be able to utilize your leader effect. Like, talk about pretty good. Rakuyo is a 3-cost 4,000 power Whitebeard Pirate. When attacking, if you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, all your characters with the Whitebeard Pirate trait gain 1,000 power until the end of this turn. That also includes him, so he's basically like a 3-cost 5,000 power character. I don't know if this card is good enough to be included in the Ace deck. We've already talked about so many good cards that are going to be included more than likely in the Ace deck, and then we have to think about OP03 because he's part red. You got to think about OP08 because there's blue and red, I'm pretty sure, in that set, Whitebeard Pirates, but also the starter deck 22. Like, I just don't think this makes the cut. But if you're trying to ball on a budget, this one can work. Little Oars Jr. is a 7-cost 7,000 power Giants Whitebeard Pirates type. When attacking, if your leader has a trait that includes Whitebeard Pirates, draw 1 card. Again, a nice card, but I just don't think makes the cut. But could be good if you're balling on a budget. Now on to the events. If I succumb to power, there's no point in being born a man. It's now Blue's version for the dual kind of usage for these events. The 1-cost 3,000 power counter, or on main, you can rest 1 additional Dawn card, so 2 in total. If you have 1 or less life, your opponent cannot activate blocker when your leader attacks this turn. This is really nice, right? Just trying to give more unblockable options. It feels like almost every color is gaining these like unblockable options for the end game, and especially when your leader is a 6,000 power base leader, this is going to be a good card for the Ace deck, I think. Nashi no Bute, I believe it's called Nashi no Tsubute, something along that line. I don't know what that translates to. Is another 1-cost counter event that has 2 different typings. It's also former Whitebeard Pirates. It's another One costs 3,000 power, but if you rest one more Dawn card, you can place up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power less to the bottom of their deck. This is just another nice way to not only get around chum blockers, but if you do a lot of power minusing in your focus of the deck, this is going to be a really cool way to be able to bottom deck. It's like a Houndblaze, but you don't gain the power. We've also got Brilliant Punk for Whitebeard Pirates. This is a 4-cost event they use on main, where you return one of your characters to the owner's hand and return a character with a cost of 6 or less to the owner's hand. It's basically just like Jozu, but you can play it earlier because it's an event with a trigger of draw one card. Interesting card. Now let's go to purple. We've got Amatsuki Toki. I don't know who this is. This is Purple Wano Country and Roger Pirates. It's a 2-cost character, 3,000 power. If a character with the Roger's Pirate typing would be KO'd by your opponent's effect, you can send this character to the trash instead. Roger now getting a protection effect on it, but it's really interesting. I feel like you put this in the deck because it's a good card, right? It's a protection effect, and it's anybody with the Roger's Pirate typing, and you're playing a ton of Roger's Pirate stuff, but like, you probably don't play this until you're done with your curve, right? Because you're playing everything basically on curve. 2-cost Buggy, the Odin, Rayleigh, Roger. So I don't really see a time until like either late game that you play this card, or maybe if you end up missing the curve, right? Like let's say on 5 Dawn or 6 Dawn, you can't play the Odin blocker or whatever that blocker is. So like instead you go ahead and you play this Amatsuki Toki, right? To kind of fit it in and maybe help with the later in the game. I don't know. It's a really interesting card, and I think it's one that people really need to keep an eye out for and maybe really respect and think about when deck building, but I don't know. I'm not sold on it yet. Now we've got Inurarashi. This is Minx and Roger Pirates. It's a 3-cost, 3,000 power character. On play, if you have a Dawn granted to you, add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck by resting it, and then you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less. This is really cool in the early game for Roger, especially on the even curve, right? Because on your even curve, when you go from 2 to 4, you're going to have to attach one to lead, and you only have 3 Dawn active after that. This Inurarashi is going to be able to ramp a Dawn and then maybe also take care of like a 1-cost searcher or something, or maybe a 1-drop chum blocker and something like Blue Yellow Nami before you go ahead and swing face. I like this card. I like this addition into Roger. I don't know if it's mandatory, but I definitely like this one. It helps you consistently get your curve off, in my opinion, and be able to ramp literally every single turn. We've got Korokasu. This is a Roger Pirates 1K, 5-cost, 6K counter. It's got 2 effects. One, on play, if you have a Dawn granted to you, add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as an active card. So a lot of these Roger Pirate cards are ramping as rested, but this guy going to be able to ramp as active. He's also got a when attacking effect of returning up to one of your opponent's original characters with 3,000 power less to their hand. Getting rid of chum blockers, getting rid of pesky protection effects, maybe. I think this is also a nice card in Roger. It might not be, I don't know if you'd rather play this or... Actually, you probably prefer to play this than Odin, right? In terms of the 5 costs on like your 6 Dawn turn, because this one ramps an active that you can use then to swing 7 instead of 6, whereas Odin just gives one rested, right? Yeah, Odin just gives one rested. So I can definitely see this being played. Speaking of the Odin, it's right here. I forgot that we were going to talk about this card like literally in this set. It's a 5-cost, 6,000 power 1K counter if you did not know. Roger Pirates, Wano Country, and Kozuki family. This guy is a blocker, but not only that, it's got an on-play effect of if you have a Dawn granted to you, add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as rested. I still think this is valuable, even though I hyped up Kurokasu a lot in the previous card, but I still think this has a ton of value within the deck because it's a 6,000 power blocker, right? Especially because we're getting another 6,000 power leader, and Blue Purple Luffy is not banned, so it's a viable option that you're going to have to face against. It's a lot easier to block and just 1K out of it. Now, Gold D Roger, another 10 cost, 13 2,000 power character for Goldie Roger. It's got the Pirate King Roger Pirates typing, has two different effects. The first one is an ongoing effect. The effects of your leader and all characters without the Roger Pirates trait are negated. I think the way that this is worded is that your leader, no matter what, is negated, but also any character without the Roger Pirates type, right? If you try to do like Bon Clay, for example, in the Goldie Roger deck, he's not allowed to copy power when this Roger Pirate is on the field. But if you on play Dawn -3, your leader gets 2,000 power until the end of your opponent's next end phase. Then all of your opponent's characters get minus 2,000 power till the end of your opponent's next end phase. So not only are you going ahead and being a 7,000 power leader, honestly, even higher than that, you're a 9,000 power leader, but you power minus 2,000 everything on your opponent's side of the field. This card's really, really good and can do some disgusting things. This is definitely going to be, I think, one of the more expensive SRs in the set. Shanks is a nice one drop for the Roger Pirates deck. And on play, look at the top 5, reveal a card with Roger Pirates trait other than Shanks, add it to your hand, put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Just a nice, good one-drop searcher. Silver's Rayleigh's another good SR within the Roger Pirates deck. It's an 8-cost, 9,000 power rush character. But on top of that, with an on-play effect, if you have a Dawn card granted to you, put up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less into rested. Then at the end of turn, you add a Dawn from your Dawn deck as active. So it doesn't necessarily ramp like the other cards in the Roger Pirates typing, but is able to rest a blocker or just a very important character on your opponent's side of the field and then swing 9,000 power into it. And by the way, you ramp one at the end of turn, so maybe if you're on a 9 Dawn turn, right, playing this character down because you have to have one attached to leader at the start of your turn, and then boom, you have 8 active Dawn at the start of your turn, so you play this guy down. You're going to be able to go to 10 so your leader effect doesn't happen in the next turn. This card's really good in Roger as well. Just two really good SRs in the deck. We got Scoopa here. This guy's a 6-cost, 7,000 power, 1k counter character. It's got an on-play effect. If your leader is the Roger Pirates trait, draw 2 cards, trash 1 from your hand, and then add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as rested. This is also just a really good card in Roger Pirates. Not only do you get some hand filter because your leader is Roger Pirates, but also you get that ramp effect as well. There's just like every single card, I feel like the Goldie Roger deck does some sort of ramping. The deck is all about just like trying to find it at the right time. It's so interesting. We got Douglas Bullet here as well. 3-cost, 4,000 power, film and Rogers Pirates character, former Rogers Pirates, I should say, has 2 different effects. If you have 8 or more Dawn cards on your field, this character gains plus 2,000 power. So that's on both the offensive and defensive side. Being a 3-cost, 6,000 power character is nothing to scoff at. But on play, if your leader has the Roger Pirates trait, you can add 1 card from your Dawn deck by resting it. Just another ramp card. And it's a 3-cost, 6,000 power character with a 1k counter on it. A lot of times I feel like on some of these cards, we see them as bricks, right? Especially if they also have an on-play effect. So although you don't get the extra power until late stages of the game, it's still a really interesting card to have. We got Tom here. Tom has a 2-cost, 2,000 power Fishman Water 7 card. It's got an on-play of Dawn -1. You can add a stage card with a cost of 3 or less from your trash to your hand. This is very obviously supposed to be meant for Galila Company, especially if you get in a situation to where maybe there's a stage removal card that puts it in the trash, or maybe you filter your hand from some draw trash effect, or maybe you get hit with banish, right? With like Yamato or Robin or something of the sort. Any reason that it would go in the trash, this is able to get it back. I don't know if this really revitalizes Iceberg, but it's a cool one to have. We got Napoleon here with the Homies and Big Mom Pirates typing. Just a 5-cost, 7,000 power vanilla. Nekomamushi here, a 3-cost, 3,000 power 2k counter of both Minx and Roger Pirates. It's got an on-play effect of if you have 8 or more Dawn on your field, you can KO up a character with an original power of 3,000 or less. Might just be a really nice 2K within the deck because honestly, like I've talked about with like chum blockers and stuff like that, this is a good way to just nullify that chum blocker at the end game when you're trying to go in for game. Buggy is a 2-cost 2K counter as well with an on-play effect. If your leader has the Roger Pirates trait and you have Dawn granted to him, you add a Dawn to your field rested. Another good 2K, and it ramps. How do you ever whiff ramps with this deck? I swear. Prometheus is a homie Big Mom Pirates 2K counter vanilla card, 5 cost 6,000 power, which, by the way, could be interesting to play in Katakuri with the PRBO2 pudding. I don't know, just a thought. Spatula here is a 4-cost 5,000 power. Or wait, what's this one's name? Hetty? I don't know what the translation is. Spatula? It's a 1K counter, 4-cost 5,000 power homies and Big Mom Pirate type with an on-play effect of play up to one character with the homies trait and a power of 3,000 or less from your hand. We've got a variety of different homies cards, so it's nice, but I don't think they're really that. Oh, this could be able to play Zeus in purple yellow pudding. That could be interesting because yeah, Zeus is a homies typing. Let's give it a go and kill each other if we're still alive. Wait, isn't the translation like let's have a scrap or something like that? Let's go and have a scrap, something of the sort. Anyways, it's Roger's 1-cost event card that has 2 different typings, one being the 3,000 power, or if you rest another Dawn card and your leader is Goldie Roger and you have a Dawn card attached to him, you ramp a Dawn. It's basically a Gear 2, but cheaper, which I think actually is not cheaper in the long haul because instead of resting 2, you rest 1, but you have to have 1 on leader. So it's kind of like utilizing 2. Anyways, getting a Gear 2 and another ramp. Divine Evacuation right here. It's a 0-cost event with 2 different things with it. On the counter, you can trash 1 card from your hand and your leader or character gains 3,000 power for the battle, which is basically like a Gum Gum Jet Gatling. But on top of that, on main, if you rest 5 of your Dawn cards and you have a Dawn on your leader, you can give an opponent's character minus 8,000 power for the turn. That is literally almost like a Divine Departure. So not only do you get Gear 2, but you also get a combo of Gum Gum Jet Gatling and Divine Departure in the Roger deck. What? And go to the top right here is another 1-cost 3K counter event with a main. You can rest 3 more Dawn cards, and if you have a Dawn granted to you, KO up to one of your opponent's original characters with 4,000 power or less and one with 3,000 power or less. So you also get an 8-cost Rayleigh secret rare. The Goldie Roger stuff is kind of really nuts in my opinion. And although I don't think it's going to be the best deck starting in OP13, and I'll talk about what I think about the meta after seeing a lot of lists and videos and, you know, meta discussions and stuff like that. I do think Roger is a present deck within the format. It is a good and viable option to play. And I think it's all in part because, dang, Roger's Pirates got so many cool cards. We also have a stage called Oro Jackson. Once per turn, when your character with the Roger Pirates trait leaves the field due to your opponent's effect, add up to 1 card from your deck as rested. I feel like you play this card, right? Especially with Sakazuki back in the format. Like, that's just another removal deck that is in, and we've already talked so much in this video already about removal cards. So it's like, I feel like you play this and just like, bam, get some ramp, bam, get some ramp, bam, get some ramp. It's actually a really interesting stage. Emu is one of the most interesting leaders, I think, in the card game right now, especially after the ban list. Emu is a 5,000 power 4-life leader with actually officially no attribute. I think that's really a key thing now that we have this, because before it was like, oh, maybe he just doesn't have an attribute yet because they're saving that part of the reveal. But no, like literally on the official website, this is the official website, he does not have an actual attribute, which is the first card, I think, possibly. Somebody let me know in the comments if there's another card that doesn't have an attribute. He's got 2 different effects. First, by rule, you cannot include events with the cost of 2 or more in your deck. So automatically right there, like, Can't play Finger Pistol. Can't play any of that stuff. No Black Vortex. But also at the start of the game, you can play up to one of your stage cards with the Holy Land Mariois trait from your deck. There's two different stage cards that you're going to be able to play with this. One being the Holy Land Mariois, which we've known about for a while now, right? Being able to play this and cheating out Celestial Dragon type cards. But you can cheat out this Empty Throne 7-cost stage, which I think is most of the noise that people talk about when they talk about Emu. Being able to play out this stage, you're able to cheat out characters. We'll get to the stage later. Just know that this stage is really good. So, and this also happens before you do anything in the game. Or maybe I don't know if it's actually before you decide to go first or second, but this is before you decide your starting hand. This is before you draw for turn, put out your life, all of that stuff. So guaranteed going to be able to get a stage out. But what's even more that's really interesting on a leader, but this is also really interesting. Emu has an activate main once per turn. You can place one of your characters with the Celestial Dragon trait or one card from your hand into the trash to draw one card. It's a filter effect on this. There's a lot of situations where like you can play a 1-drop searcher or something like that and then discard it to just draw one card because it's not really going to do anything anyways. If you play a card down and you swing with it, right, and instead of your Zoro opponent swinging at it and then swinging at lead, you can skip that step by just trashing it to draw one card, or maybe just filter out your hand like Sakazuki used to. It's a really good baseline for the Emu deck, and I think is a really big reason why Emu is viable heading into the format. With those two things right there, allows for, less stages in the deck because you're going to find it no matter what. So it allows you to deck build more options for other things. But also on top of that, you have like this draw engine within your leader that's really nice. This is now the most interesting leader, in my opinion, in the One Piece trading card game, in terms of legal ones. To start off the characters for the Celestial Dragons and the 5 Elders, we've got this 6-cost 5,000 power Ethan Baron v Nasuro. It's got 2 effects. If you have 7 or more cards in your trash, this character does not leave the field due to your opponent's effects and gains rush. You may think it's a little weird that it's a 6-cost 5,000 power character, but don't worry, that rush and also I mentioned earlier cheating out characters, we're going to talk about that soon. But I think the most important thing is the protection effect on this guy. You have to battle this character in order to get rid of it. That's going to be a really big key, because especially 7 or more cards in trash is pretty easy to get to in the Emu deck, especially because we're going to talk about it later, searchers and stuff that trash cards after the search, and also your leader effect, just getting a card in trash every single turn. You pretty much use your leader effect every single turn. But also when attacking, if you have 10 or more cards in your trash, up to one of your opponent's characters receives minus 2,000 power during the turn. So not only will you be able to cheat this out, right, having a protection effect, but also getting that rush, and then with the attack on the rush, you can basically power swap. I mean, we'll talk about how the power swap kind of works later, but I mean, you just use minus 2,000 power something. This card is just the start of the Emu stuff, to be honest. Dressrosa and Rev Army type, though, gets a ton of great cards as well in this set, starting off with Koala. This is a 5-cost 6,000 power character. If your leader has the trait Rev Army, this character's cost is +3. Just another card for Koala decks, another card for the Red-Black Sabo decks, to be able to achieve that 8 cost that those decks try to reach. But not only that, activate main once per turn. If you put a card from your trash to the bottom of your deck, you can give Arrested Dawn to one of your leaders or characters. This is really nice on curve, right? Because not only can you get that 8 cost that you need, you can also give your leader that Dawn ×1 to be able to get off the leader effect. This is, in my opinion, a staple within the Sabo deck. You can bring this back with the Dragon, right, that we got in OP12, which is really, really nice. I love this card. Now, Gorosei, I kind of Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back to Gorosei later after we talk about all of the 5 elders, because I think it'll make sense after we do. Now, Jay Garcia, Saturn Saint, or whatever his name is a 4-cost 5,000 power Elder Celestial Dragon with a 1k counter. He also has the if you have 7 or more cards in your trash, this leader cannot leave the field due to your opponent's effects. I think you're going to start to see a theme. But he's got an on-play effect of looking at the top 5 cards of your deck, revealing a card with the 5 Elders trait, and add it to your hand, place the rest of the bottom of the deck in any order. This is nice. I mean, he's got the protection effect. He's going to stay on the field, and he's able to search for another one of your Celestial Dragon pieces. Just another good card. Shepherd 10, Peter, Saint, I don't really know. I'm not this far in the anime. He's a 7-cost 5,000 power character, a 2k counter as well. Once again with the 7 cards in the trash protection effect. But during your turn, if you have 10 or more cards in the trash, change the original power of all of your characters with the 5 Elders trait to 7,000. If you remember, the couple that we've talked about already are 5,000 power base, so being able to change them to 7,000 power is so nice. So think about, like I was talking about the one earlier, think about having this guy on the field, right? Changing the power to this guy to 7,000, but you get rush and you minus 2,000 power something. You're starting to think of the combos that you can get with this deck, right? Also, this card just being a 2k counter is so nice for the deck, I feel like. Just getting 2k counters. Mwah. We've got this vanilla, don't even think about this vanilla like it's just a filler. Now, Sharia Palace, we've heard about for a while, right? With reveals and the premium collection and stuff. It's a 1-cost 1,000 counter on play. Look at the top 3 of your deck. Reveal a Celestial Dragon card other than Palace of Sharia and add it to your hand. Then put the rest in your trash and discard 1 card from your hand. This is the searcher that I was referencing earlier in Emu to be able to build up your trash, because think about it. If on your first turn of the game, you play this card down, right, going first, play this card down, grab 1 card, put 2 in the trash, then you have to trash 1 card from your hand because of the second part of this Sharia Palace effect. So that's 3 cards in trash. You can then use your leader effect to put this character from the field into the trash because it's a Celestial Dragon type due to your leader effect, to then draw 1 card, and that's 4 cards in trash in the first turn of the game. I think there's only like 1 other card that can do that, and that's Victorious Sindri in Gecko Moria, which is leader locked to Thriller Bark. Very, 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 very good setup card. St. Charles is a 2-cost blocker in the Celestial Dragons typing with an on-play effect of place 1 card from the top of your deck into your trash. Nice chum blocker option. That's all I gotta say. Terry is a 2k vanilla Rev Army type. Tubman Walker Saint is another Celestial Dragon 5 Elder. If you have 7 or more cards in your trash, this character does not leave the field due to your opponent's effect and gains blocker. So there's a nice 4-cost 7,000 power potentially blocker, but he's also got an on-KO effect of drawing 1 card. So after you block with him, draw 1 card, fill up the hand. This card also really good in Emu. Before we get to the final Elder and then go back to Gorosen, this is another Fishman Dressrosa Rev Army 2k vanilla in Haku, or I think in English it's just Hack. And finally, to round out the 5 Elders, we have Saint Marcus Mars. He's a 6-cost 5,000 power character with a 1k counter, also having the protection effect of 7 or more cards, and gains blocker. Wait, so we have 2 blockers? Yeah, we have 2 different blockers on these guys. Crazy. But also on top of that, with an on-play effect, you can discard 1 card from your hand and KO up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 5 or less. A really good card, in my opinion, being able to KO different characters. 5 is a really good number in the game right now, and especially as blocker as well, like just getting multiple blockers, because Gorosen, a 10-cost 12,000 power, is crazy. And don't worry, after I talk about this card, it is just the tip of the iceberg. It's a Celestial Dragon 5 Elder card with an activate main. If your leader is Emu, you rest 1 of your Dawn cards and trash 1 from hand. Place all of your characters into the trash, including this one, and then bring up to 5 characters with different names and the trade 5 Elders with power 5,000 power from your trash. Do you know what 5 cards we've talked about that have the 5 Elders trait and are 5,000 base power? These guys right here, these are the alternate arts that we just talked about. I'm talking Saint Ethan Baron Juro. I'm talking Saint J. Garcia Saturn. I'm talking Saint Shepherd Jupiter. I'm talking Saint Topman Warcry. I'm talking Saint Marcus Mars. All 5 of those guys you could just put on the field. And then you're going to be able to use the KO effect to KO something. You're going to be able to do the search on the search effect. And by the way, they're all becoming 7,000 power. This card is one of the big reasons why Emu is a viable deck within the format, right? For 10 Dawn, even though you don't get to swing with him, right, as a 12,000 power character, you're going to be able to play him out and then play out all of those guys. You spit out all those guys. They've got protection effects, so you can't get rid of them, and then they're going to swing at you for 7,000 power. It's definitely a crazy combo, but there's one more card that I teased earlier that we're going to talk about here soon. Here's another 2K Sane Mjosgard with an on-play effect if you have 3 or less life. You play 1 stage card with a 1-cost characteristic Holy Land Marigois from your trash. The Marigois card we already talked about earlier just helps cheat out Celestial Dragons, but is probably like a nice 2K counter to have in the deck. Probably. I think I like the blocker a little bit more, or whatever that other card was, but this one could be a viable option as well. Morgans in the Journalist gets another card, 3 cost 4,000 power blocker. On play, draw 2, trash 2. Pretty good on play. York is a 1 cost 1K counter 1,000 power Egghead Scientist. I think the first black egghead card in the game, I believe. York has an on-play effect of up to one of your characters with the Celestial Dragon trait gains 2,000 power for the turn. So doesn't have anything to do with Egghead, it's Celestial Dragon bonuses. For 1 Dawn, you can give something 2,000 power. This could be a cheeky card to include in your Emu decks if you can fit it in, because it's just an extra bonus to be able to swing for game. You've also got Saint Rosward, a 3 costs 0 power 1K counter character with an on-play effect. You can discard 1 card from your hand. If you only have characters with the Celestial Dragon trait, keep up to 2 of your opponent's characters with an original cost of 3 or less, right? This is original cost as well, so anything that gains 3 or gains any sort of cost can be affected by this. This could be an interesting removal card if maybe Emu really struggles against like hyper aggro matchups like Zuro or Silver's Rayleigh or something like that. This could be a really good way to mitigate those matchups specifically. Now, the 5 Elders in Celestial Dragons type does gain a 1-cost search event. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal a card with the Celestial Dragon type and add it to your hand, put the rest in the trash. This one is not as good as the 1-drop character in my opinion, but is still a nice way to be able to boost up cards in your trash, right? This automatically goes in the actually it might be just as good because you still get 4 in the trash, right? 3 get in the trash because you put 2 away after grabbing 1, and then the event goes in the trash, so that's 3, and then you use your leader effect to get to 4. Okay, it's probably just the same amount of value. Maybe a little bit worse because it's not 1K counter, but it's got that trigger of being able to use the main effect. The Dragons also have another 1-cost event. This is the 1-cost, do 2 different typings, one being a counter 3,000 power. But on main, if you rest 5 other Dawn cards, so 6 in total, if you only have Celestial Dragon type characters on the field, you KO an opponent's character with the original cost of 6 or less. So resting 6 Dawn to KO an original 6 cost or less. Pretty simple. Now, this one I think is the most interesting. Originally, it wasn't there. This is a 1-cost event that also has a dual kind of typing or usage. On the counter, if your leader is Emu, up to one of your leaders or characters gets 4,000 power during the battle. Actually huge. You don't have to trash a card. You don't have to take a life or put cards back into your deck or whatever. It is just a straight up 4,000, which I think is pretty good. But on top of that, if you rest another Dawn card, so 2 in total on the main phase, if your leader is Emu, you KO up to one of your opponent's 7-cost stages. So we talked about Emu's leader effect right at the beginning of the game, cheating out a 7-cost stage. Now, Emu has a counter in the mirror to KO the stage, which is so funny to me. It's going to make the Emu mirrors really interesting about like what stages you actually play and when, or how many of each stage that you play. Because I mean, this card's like a 4 of, right, in the Emu deck because of its counter potential, especially. Now, the Empty Throne is the stage that the originally it wasn't there will get rid of, right, being a 7-cost stage and one that you can cheat out because it's a Mary Goist type. It's got 2 different effects. One, during your turn, if you have 19 or more cards in the trash, your leader gains 1,000 power. Gonna be really nice with the different like 6K, 7K leaders in the format, right? You talk about Roger, you talk about Ace, you talk about Red Black Sabo in the later stages of the game. You're gonna be able to match or only need 1 Dawn to be able to compete with those. But what's the most interesting is activate main, you can rest this card and 3 of your Dawn cards from your hand. Play a character card with the 5 Elders trait and is black that is cost equal to or less than the number of Dawn cards on your field. So for 3 Dawn, you can cheat out one of your 5 Elder Stars characters. So think about at 10 Dawn and you got this stage on the field, resting 3, playing this guy down to then use his activate main, rest 1 more Dawn to play out the 5 Elders, which I already talked about was an insane combo. And by the way, you still have 6 Dawn left to work with as active. The combo is crazy in the deck. It is so insane to watch. I highly recommend looking up videos, and we'll have videos of it soon on the channel. It's such an insane way to round out black, round out Emu as well as an archetype, and really establishes Emu as just one of the best decks in the format on release. They did a great job making a good deck. Jewelry Bonnie is the final leader that we'll talk about in this set, heading off yellow. It's a 5,000 power, 5 life, Egghead Bonnie Pirates type leader. During your turn, once per turn, when you play a character with trigger, you can activate this effect. Grant up to 2 rested Dawn cards to one of your leader or characters. It's honestly a pretty decent leader effect, right? We talk about some of the Egghead stuff, you know, in like Vegapunk that has a lot of triggers. Also, just yellow in general having triggers. So if you play a character with the trigger, you can go ahead, swing 7 with lead, or maybe attach some Dawn and swing either like 5 with a 3,000 power character that you have on the field, or even higher than that with that character. I don't think this leader in general is overly strong. Like, I think Vegapunk as a leader might just be better than this, but especially with Bonnie Pirates typing in yellow and being a 5 life leader, there's a lot of interesting ways that I see people building this deck. Atlas is a 2K counter Egghead Scientist, 5 cost, 6,000 power, and Edison is also a new 2K counter. This one being 3 cost and 2,000 power for the Egghead Scientist, has an activate main of sending this character to the trash. If your life total is equal to or less than your opponent's, you draw 1 card, then put one of your characters of a cost of 3 or less into rested. I'm seeing a lot of this in the Vegapunk list in OP13. A lot of people kind of excited about Vegapunk with the combination of this set and the ban list. And we'll talk about more other cards that I see in the deck list later. But this is a really nice 2K to be able to have, right? Because as Vegapunk being a 2-life leader, you're more than likely at almost any stage of the game going to be lower than your opponent. So being able to replace that card in your hand, right? You play it down and then boom, you draw 1 card, replace it if you need to get something going, and being able to rest something to be able to maybe swing into it later with like the Lilith or, you know, the Shaka or anything, or maybe rest the Chum Blocker. It's a really nice card to have. It also has a trigger on it of draw 1 card, then rest one of your opponent's 3 cost or less. So synergizes well with the leader effect if you just put it into life. Definitely a really interesting card in my opinion, and can work out in a lot of different matchups. We've also got Gyogo. It's a 4-cost vanilla 6,000 power 1K counter Bonnie Pirates. We've also got a Kazuki Hiyori, 4-cost 0 power 1K counter Wano Country Kazuki family type card. It is a 0 power blocker, but it's got an on KO effect. If you trash a card from your hand and your leader is multicolored, you can add 1 card from the top of your deck to your life. This might be kind of nice in something like Yamato, right? Kind of one of the yellow part Wano Country multicolored leaders that could play this card. Being able to add a card to your life can be really nice, especially with a 0 power blocker, which just yeah, just block with it, or if it gets on KO'd because it's a blocker, well, okay, it might be able to help you out in the game. We've also got a Momonosuke. It's a 3-cost, 0 power, 1k counter on play. Look at all of your life cards and place them in any order. I don't know if I fully see this card being played in something like Yamato, but it could be a nice option, right, for being able to reorder your life cards, especially if you are trying to figure out, like, okay, you know, I've got a 0-cost event in there. I'm going to put it at the bottom so then I gain an extra life. Or, you know, oh, here's a KO trigger. I'm going to put it at the top so then I can KO one of my opponent's characters in the early game. There is value in this. We've seen cards like this be played in stuff like Black Yellow Luffy, right, with that 1-cost Makino. We've also got a Bonnie Pirates Coney, a 1-cost 1000 power 1k counter also. I don't know who this Coney is, but looks identical to Bonnie, except older, obviously. I don't know the lore. This is a Bonnie Pirates character with saying, during your opponent's turn, when a trigger is activated, this character gains blocker during the turn. Especially because I believe the Bonnie list plays a lot of triggers, right? Being able to give the Rested Dawn to leader or a character. This is a really nice 1-cost chum blocker that you can gain, with a trigger as well that says, play this card. This is a really nice setup for a lot of those conditional chum blockers that we see sometimes in decks. Now, Shaka, a lot of people are excited about this card. This is a 5-cost, 7,000 power vanilla 1k counter of the Egghead Scientist. This is a pretty big deal, right? Because Vegapunk now has an opportunity to get a 7,000 power character on turn 1 on the field, right? By just using leader effect. That's kind of a big deal. So the addition of the Edison and Shaka are making a lot of people excited to try out Vegapunk in OP13. Now, Jewelry Bonnie is a 9-cost, 10,000 power SR in this deck. It's a 9,000 power trigger card as well, which I think is one of the highest trigger cards that we've seen, especially on a character. I'll read you the trigger first. If you have 1 or less life, put up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 7 or less into rest mode. I think this could be played in Vegapunk. I think this could be played in Bonnie, right? Especially because Vegapunk being so low on life, you can use it at pretty much any time on that trigger. And then in Bonnie, which could be really nice, right? To just 7 cost rested. That's a big amount of cost to rest on a trigger, but it's got an on-play effect of, if your leader has the Egghead type, this character gains rush during the turn, and then your opponent adds the top card to their life to their hand. It has the opportunity to take 2 life on 1 swing, because your opponent takes a life before you even swing, and then, by the way, just swing 10,000 power. This card's really good. Now, there's another Jewelry Bonnie, this being a 5-cost, 6,000 power Supernova Bonnie Pirates type with a 1k counter. It's got a trigger of draw 2, trash 1 from your hand, which is very good trigger, but if this character leaves the field due to an opponent's effect, you can turn the top card of your life face up instead. This is an interesting card for not only Bonnie decks, but also green-yellow Law, right? Being a 5-cost Supernova character fits nicely within that kind of style. I don't know if there's deck space for it, but it's nice to have as an option, and being able to flip the life face up for either of those decks is not necessarily detrimental at any point, I feel like. This is a cool addition to the whole synopsis. Now, Stussy, in my opinion, one of the best illustrations in the set. Outside the best regular illustrations, the SPs, man, of the 5 Elders is just unreal. But this card is a 7-cost, 7,000 power blocker that is also Egghead and CP0. It's got an on-play effect, though, of if your leader is the Egghead type, play up to 1 character card with a trigger of 5 or less from your hand. I think this works well in Vegapunk, potentially, but more so in Bonnie. I mean, it could even work in stuff like Enel, right? It's a 7,000 power blocker for the odd curve, but also you get to play like the 5-drop Nami in Enel. You could play the Luffy, that one Egghead Luffy. Or even in Vegapunk, you could play the 5-drop blocker, which then plays like another card. You could play Shaka. You could could play the Lilith Searcher. Like, there's so many options within this. I really like this card, and not just for the art. The Peach Momoko alternate art is also really pretty. We've got Pythagoras here, which is a 2k counter, 6 cost 7,000 power, and a 1 cost Vegapunk. This is a 1 cost 1,000 power, 1k counter Vegapunk, Egghead Scientist type. If you have 2 or more cards with Dawn attached to them, this character gains blocker. So it's a conditional blocker for the Egghead typing. I don't know. I can't remember actually if I've seen this in like early Vegapunk lists for OP13, but you honestly could, in my opinion, just because it's just another annoying little blocker. I just don't know if it fits in Vegapunk, but it could fit in Bonnie. You could have multiple like kind of these conditional chum blockers because, I mean, with your leader effect, you're going to be able to get 1 card with Dawn attached to it. So all you got to do is just attach another one in some way or some fashion. Lilith is a 1-drop of the Egghead Scientist. When played, look at the top 4, reveal up to 1 card with trigger other than Lilith, add it to your hand, place the rest of the bottom of the deck into any order with the trigger of activating its on-play effect. I don't think this card is overly present in Vegapunk, but I think in Bonnie you can include this, right? Because it's searching for something with a trigger. Really, any deck that just runs a lot of trigger. Like, honestly, you could play this in Robin, right? Because you play a lot of stuff with triggers in the deck. I don't know if you could, but that's just like a random thought that I had. S-Snake is a 4 cost 5,000 power 1k counter Seraphim Egghead type card. When played and when attacking, you can turn the top card of your life face up and give one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power till the end of turn. With a trigger of trashing a card from the hand, you can play this card down. I think this is an interesting card, right? Being able to have that minus power, and especially, like I said, of a lot of times in the decks that I'm thinking of, like the revealing the top life card doesn't really matter that much. So like could be a nice effect to see. Heading off towards the end of this set, we've got the events now. Kami Remains. Kamiye Remains. It's a 2-cost counter event with a trigger of draw 1 card. The counter, up to one of your leaders or characters gets 3,000 power during the battle, and afterwards, if your opponent has 2 or less life, up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters gains another 1,000 power during the turn. So this could be present in your Egghead type decks, right? Especially because in the late stages of the game, it can be a 2 Dawn 4,000 power event. I think this is interesting. The freest man of the sea is the Pirate King. It's a 1-cost searcher event for the Supernovas typing. This could be interesting, I feel like, in the Trafalgar Law deck, right? Because now you have a 1-drop searcher event that you can also utilize. I don't know exactly where you would fit it in because I think your character searchers are much more important to be able to shambles, but it could just be a consistency piece and could work in maybe like a Bonnie deck. This could actually be really good in Eustace Captain Kidd, come to think of it, because that deck is like all supernovas. Oh, interesting. You might play this in a Eustace Captain Kidd deck. Now we've got the rare event in here. It's a 5-cost event. Gum Gum White Stamp? I don't know if it's white stamp because I don't see Shiroi, which is white, I believe. But anyways, this event is Egghead, 4 Emperors, and Straw Hat Crew. It's a main event to where if you turn the top of your life face up, kill up to one of your opponent's characters with an original cost of 6 or less. Pretty simple, with a trigger of draw 1 card. Now, there's a couple secret rares in this set, more than usual, the first one being the 6-cost 7,000 power Monkey D. Luffy. This is Fishman Island, Supernova, and Straw Hat Crew. I find it very interesting that it's Fishman Island because you might be able to play this in Fishman decks, maybe? But either way, definitely going to be really good for Supernova and Straw Hat Crew decks. It got double attack. Pretty good. But on top of that, when played, if your leader is multicolored, activate up to 4 of your Dawn cards. So pay 6, restand 4 if you have a multicolored leader. That's good. But after that, you cannot play a character card with an original cost of 5 or more during this turn. You can play cards with 4 or less, just not 5 or more. I think this card's really good. I think is especially good in Red Green Luffy. Now, Port Gusty Ace is an incredible card in the Ace deck. 6 cost 7,000 power. If you have 3 or less life, this character gains Rush. wouldn't you know it, Red Blue Ace only has 3 life at max without any sort of modifiers or anything like that. So it's gonna get Rush. But on play, grant Arrested Dawn to your leader. Afterwards, you can return up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less, and if you do, your opponent is allowed to play a 4 cost or less from their hand. This is really interesting, right? I think this card is definitely balanced because not only is he going to be able to be Rush, 7,000 power, but he's going to be able to give Arrested Dawn to your leader for the leader effect and removes a 5 cost from the field. The key thing about this card, though, is that you could specifically target a 5 cost on the field, and they can't play that 5 cost back down on the field. They have to play something else down instead if they want to, or if they can. Maybe not very good for the Emu matchup, but for a lot of other matchups that play like 5 costs and really love 5 costs. Sabo is also a really good card for its respected leader, the red-black Sabo. This one might be one of the most important cards, I think, to the Sabo deck. Or I should say, two out of all the leaders. It's a 6 cost, 7,000 power Dressrosa Rev Army type that is blocker, right? So you're playing a 7,000 power blocker, but activate main once per turn. Up to one of your characters gains +2 costs until the end of your opponent's next turn, and then afterwards grants up to 1 Rested Dawn to your leader. I really like this card's flexibility. Right, a lot of the Dressrosa Rev Army type cards that we've seen give themselves an addition to cost to reach 8 for the leader effect. Sabo can make itself an 8 cost and then give Arrested Dawn to be able to have the leader effect go off. But if you feel like it's more important to give a different character +2 cost, you know, whether that's for trying to play around events of like resting or bounce back stuff, because you're not really worried about a 6 cost, but maybe you're worried about like the 3 cost Ivankov from OP12, right? That's only a small little 3 cost, but you can make it a 5 cost, which makes it ultimately harder to remove. You could do that instead. I really love this card's flexibility. I think it's played in Koala. I think it's played in Red Black Sabo, both the original and the new one in OP13. I think it's just a really good card. And honestly, as well, it's just a good card in general because it's not leader locked either. You could play this in a couple different decks, especially if you have a leader effect that is Dawn ×1 for whatever reason. Big fan of this card. And that's going to be all. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredibly long video. I always post the set lists as soon as we get them, and then later down the line when we're about to get them in English, I'll put out a buy list video as well of, you know, after we see a meta of some cards and we start to see how they're actually incorporated in decks and how they actually play out. Here's the ones that are actually super valuable. You know, here are some that maybe you don't really need to worry about, and all that jazz in a bag of chips. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.